Okay, once again, y'all, this is God in them streets, and I'm coming with the second part to this, and this is going to be about a black woman. Yes, a superior black queen that was fighting for her freedom way back then in Mexico, and she was highly respected. Let me turn you on.
And is now known as Yanga. In 1871, about 50 years after Mexico gained their independence, Yanga was designated as a national hero of Mexico and also named the El Primer Libertador de las Americas. Much of the story of Yanga was collected and published in an anthology in 1870 by Vicente Riva Palacio. He characterized the Maroons of San Lorenzo de los Negros as proud men who would not be defeated. Isabel De Olvera. Typically, the 1500s and 1600s are defined by the activities of the male Spanish conquistadors and governors, whose names mark several streets in cities like Coronado, Peralta, de Vargas. The efforts of these men brought families of soldiers to settle in areas now called New Spain. Their efforts was to get back lands originally occupied by indigenous Pueblo peoples since the 13th century. There are so many documented horrors inflicted on the Pueblo people
Since the 13th century, y'all.
Victory over the Pueblo people are celebrated during the Entrada and other fiestas. However, while this happened, one woman was challenging the effort of the Spanish.
Check out this original woman.
Catholicism and Spanish bloodlines while suppressing other faiths and ethnicities. You may have heard of the heroic stories of black women freedom fighters like Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, and Mary Ann Shadd. You've been taught the history of black women fighting for freedom. However, you may not know that women have been revolting against oppression as far back as the 16th century with the effort of black women like Isabel De Olvera. Isabel Olvera was one of these women. In fact, she was at the forefront of it. Isabel was a free woman of African descent. She lived in Querétaro, Mexico, and joined a relief expedition, traveling on the Guerra de Reza expedition to Santa Fe. The mission of the expedition was to strengthen the Spanish claim to the colonized province of Santa Fe de Nuevo Mexico. During this period,
this is for you, my supreme black queens, mothers of civilization, and everything else. I'm showing you a great black woman back in the 1600s fighting for the freedom of our people.
That Olvera's deposition may have protected her freedom during such a movement. The document somehow made its way into Spanish colonial archives. The document became a strong symbol of women and showcased Isabel's understanding of personal freedom. Olvera knew that her cherished freedom could be restricted in two ways. One was through slavery, and the other way was in marriage. With the cross-cultural and competitive histories of the colonizers of the African American continents, it's quite amazing that the expressed sentiments of a black woman survives until this day. Isabel's affidavit remains a legal document in the historical archives of two countries in both Mexico and the United States.
A legal document in Mexico and the United States stating her freedom.
She deemed the document necessary for her travel to New Mexico. She demanded justice and respect for her existence, singleness, freedom, and future. What makes Isabel a more phenomenal woman was how she was able to understand the concept of freedom as a woman in a time when women had very little liberty. Not to mention that she was a black woman with a mixed racial heritage. The confidence embedded in her statement remains inspirational, and her character and determination would help lift the voices and strengthen the resolve of so many other freedom fighters. Isabel made her freedom a priority, and in Querétaro, her freedoms were a matter of public knowledge. The three witnesses also verified that Isabel de Olvera was an unmarried mulatto woman of free status. While she was scared that her freedom may be challenged as she moved up north, she still went on the journey, even though she knew that she may be annoyed by some individual, as she called it, on her expedition to New Mexico.
Not just annoyed, but that she might possibly be raped by these savages while she was in pursuit of her freedom.
Soldiers. They took several items, such as food, livestock, and other supplies, including nails, medicine, boots, powder, silver daggers, silk hats, linen shirts, and 8 dread bars of soap. Many scholars suggest that her statement was made to ensure that she was protected from advances from soldiers while they traveled. The stories about what happened to Olvera upon her arrival in New Mexico, her writing provided an understanding of women of that time, as the main records we have of black and mulatto women from this period come from church documentation of marriages, baptisms, and burials, and from court cases regarding witchcraft. Historians suggest that women of color in New Mexico sought power over their precarious situations and often abusive husbands by drawing on the help of local curanderas and medicine women. This resulted in the women being accused of practicing witchcraft. Others, like Isabel, appealed to governing bodies for protection of their status as free women. The significance of De Olvera's statement is an incredible explication of a black woman's attempt to navigate a patriarchal and Spanish-dominated system that was designed to keep women powerless. Olvera exemplifies the ongoing intermixing of indigenous American African peoples, the construction of race in colonial North America, and the presence of black women in New Mexico from its earliest written records.
See right there that Isabella was definitely on point, ahead of her time, and everything else. A very, very strong with another great hidden secret that is not taught in your Black History class. This is God in them streets. Make sure y'all subscribe, hit the like button, and share. So you can't say, oh, the God come on here, he send mixed signals. Yes, I am, because I'm going to show you the diversity that exists, just like this knowledge that you're receiving of how we've been ingrained in every culture on the face of the planet Earth.